This is The Real Shift with Templeton Walker
and Kristen Cantrell,
where we break down all things Real Broker, why we both decided to move our businesses to Real Brokerage. We interview top agents from across the nation, like you're going to hear today.
Welcome back to the Real Shift podcast. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Templeton.
And today we have Jason Cassity, the new growth or Chief Growth Officer at Real. Hey, how's it going?
What up? Great. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for taking the time.
We're both so excited because, you know, it's a new, kind of like a newer thing that you basically have stepped out of production, put your rev share on pause, and taken this role at Real. So we want to dive into that.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, it's a change for me too. I was an agent for 13 years. So then all of a sudden to 3 weeks ago to now stop working for myself and work for 33,000 people. It's a shift for sure, but it's been fun so far. I'm very optimistic.
Well, I definitely think people think about that all the time. When you're an entrepreneur, you're like, oh, like, what would it be like? We were just talking about this before you came on. Like, Templeton said he would be a really good president of a company. And he's like, but wait, would I? And so it's just kind of crazy when you've been an entrepreneur for 13 years to all of a sudden go to corporate.
It's wild.
I got to give some context on that statement, though. I said, I think I'd be a great president, but then I always remember I'm unemployable and I'm like a maniac. And I'm like, I think I would have certain good gifts, but when you see someone of your caliber make the leap, like how does that even start? Can you give us like a little bit of a snapshot of how
or should we start with like people that don't know who you are? Why don't we give them a little bit of context about like your real estate business, how you got over to Real, and then
frame
we'll go into that.
Give us a short frame on that, and then we'll talk about the transition.
For sure. So I was licensed in 2013. So about 13 years, I was a solo producer at an indie brokerage. And then eventually I started a team, moved to Compass, opened up the Compass office in downtown San Diego for 4 years. And then I joined Real back in 2022. So from 2022 to 2026, I was an agent at Real, team leader. I had a team of 8 at its max. We were a Zillow Flex preferred team, but that was like 10% of our business. So we had a small Zillow Flex account, but for the years and years and years, I built my business through video marketing, which was where most of my business came from, was agent-to-agent referrals and video marketing through social. And so at the very end, leading up right into it, our last year, we closed just under 100 million, a team of 8. And so I was in the trenches as of 3 weeks ago, but then the transition came, and I'm happy to get into that now. What questions do you have?
Yeah, well, one thing you mentioned is you also put on pause a network size of like 800 something, which is definitely awesome. Since 2022 to 2026, that's a huge organization.
Well, it's so funny. We're pretty parallel. I started in real estate in 2013. I moved to Real in 22. Our network sizes are similar. Yours is slightly bigger. You're probably taller and more handsome too. So it's like, okay, what else are you doing better than me?
I don't know about that, man. I've been seeing how you've been dressing online lately.
Oh, dude, I have white pants on right now.
You just made his week right now.
Let's go. Jason, I have made a commitment for 6 months to dress like an adult and show up to work every day and sell luxury real estate. And I'm freaking crushing.
I see you. I've been watching.
Okay, so where were we? Now I'm thinking about my pants. Now I'm thinking about my pants.
Okay, let's talk about.
I was flipping through GQ and I saw your stuff, and then all of a sudden,
there you go.
All right, so maybe tell us, like, what did you see that made you say, okay, I'm going to push pause on this awesome success that I have to go over here and build? Like, what would make you do that?
Good question. So I say this to myself every day. Who knows? Just kidding. So I was looking at the landscape, and I felt like there was a need for someone between the agents and the C-suite, right? And there was obviously we have a great C-suite. I love our leadership. But it was a tier 2 conversation of mine so someone in my network up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and they're like, hey, we need someone besides Jason. Who else can they talk to? And we're like, wait a minute, there isn't anybody really. Like after the agents, because we do so much agent attraction, there's the growth ambassadors and the builders, but they're also just agents. They just have their own businesses. And so above that is literally just like Tamir. It's like the C-suite. And so there does need to be like a bridge kind of between. And so I pitched the idea back in January-ish to Tamir and Sharon at the same time. I texted them or called them separately, but I was like, hey, should we have maybe like an elevated agent role? And I don't know what that looks like, maybe a growth leader or something where they're compensated for it, even through stock or something, and they can like go on these agent attraction calls, but they don't, like, they're still agents. And Tamir was like, yeah, that's a good idea, but who would that be? That person would need to give up revenue share and probably give up their production. And I said, well, I'm out. Forget that. I'm not doing that. And so, but I saw the need for it, but I was like, okay. And then I sat on it some more and I kept thinking to myself, and I'm like, all right, this person needs to be in production, because I think it helps that they're an agent. They can speak agent and all this stuff. So they need to be in production, but they can't be like big enough in production to where it's like, who's our biggest producers, like the Perry Group and some of these other big producers where they're doing 1,000 deals, because they can't come out of production. They're too big. So it needs to be someone who knows how to speak the language, but not too big. And then after I thought about it, I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, that might be me. And then it's the same thing with attraction. It needs to be someone who has a network and like can sit down and speak agent and speak attraction, but not Brad and Tim and Katie, who are making way too, you know what I mean? Like the top of the revenue share chain, because they're making too much. They're not going to give up their rev share. And so it's like, again, sad. It's like, wait a minute, that could be me. Like I'm enough of an agent here and enough of a network here to where I can speak the language, but I could also see a role where I could just forgo that and then work on the corporate side, take a salary plus base plus bonus or whatever. And we worked it out. And so for me, the title mattered as well. So I like the idea of a chief growth officer just on the resume, having chief and like being at the table where the decisions were made, like as the voice of the agent. I thought that was going to be part of the journey there. And so after a couple weeks of back and forth, we made it work. And so it allows me to take on a lot of the heavy lifting that was done for the past few years with Sharon, our past president, and stuff like that. But I'm not replacing him. I'm just doing a lot of the front facing stuff that he did, but no one wants to replace him. Like, let's be real. So I'm not the president, I'm the chief growth officer. But I get to help with a lot of that front facing side that he was doing.
Yeah.
I agree so much with everything you said. One, it's funny how you start kind of looking in the mirror and you're like, wait, I am the guy. I am the guy. And it's so obviously now that you're in the role. I know for me, when it got announced, I was like, oh, that works.
Yeah,
like,
it felt good.
It felt like a perfect fit, but it was a need that was there. You know, obviously when Sharon moved on to acquisition and now he's doing everything he's doing, which is incredible success. He's still on our board. There was a gap there. Like, if we're just being honest, there was a gap there that needed to be filled. And I'm just so excited that you stepped into that role, because selfishly, I think we needed it.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I don't know you very well, but I definitely, like, from afar, I'm like, okay, this makes a lot of sense to me, because you are definitely like boots on the ground and you have both perspectives to bring. So I like I said, it just felt good when it was announced. I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
When you're dynamic, like not to, you know, I'm gonna give you some compliments real quick, but really, really smart people oftentimes can't convey what they're thinking. They can't get people excited. They can't get people to run in a direction. And you have both sides of that coin, which is rare. And when you have a leader, you need to have someone that can actually speak with conviction into the marketplace and attract, right? We attract here. We don't recruit, we attract. And that's why I was so excited for you to be in that role, because we've all met the smartest, you know, people at times that you just, after 20 minutes, you're like, I can't, yes, what you're saying is correct. I just don't want to listen anymore.
Totally.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Those are kind words. Thank you. That's high praise, especially coming from you. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Kristen too, because like, we had someone we were talking about that just came over, and it's like, hey, I've got this person, but here's the situation. They do this. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know that person. Like I've got an in. So by being in the industry for the last 10 years, it also helps. Like Real may have never seen it the way I saw it when we were having that conversation last week about this person coming in, but having known people, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's actually a really good opportunity for us because they know them and this. So it does help to have this industry experience, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't you tell us a little bit, like, what does it mean for you, or like maybe some things on the table that you're like, I'm so excited. Like you're saying you're not replacing Sharon, but like, are you showing up at a lot of the events? Like maybe tell us a little bit about like what your role looks like for everyone that's listening at Real.
For sure. So the KPI here, my whole thing is to grow the company, right? And it's like, Tamir's basically like, go grow the company. And then I'm like, well, what should I do this? And he's like, go grow the company, right? And so like now in my head, grow the company means net agent growth. And so like I'm spending 80% of my time getting people in the front door, right? Like, and that's agent attraction, that is industry evangelism, that is articles, that is Inman, that is Housing Wire, that is going to office. I just about two hours ago went to an office visit here in San Diego and met with a team. Anything that's going to get agents in the front door, I do. 20% of that job is agent retention. And that's keeping people in the door, because it's a net agent growth. If we bring in 10,000 agents, but we lose 8, we only brought in 2. You know what I mean? So ultimately I need to evangelize Real and get people in the front door, and also build a better brokerage so people don't leave when they get here. So anything that falls under those 2 purviews is what I do now on the daily. And it sounds like there's hundreds of things that go into those 2 things, but those 2 things summarize it: agent attraction and agent retention.
It reminds me of like, I don't know where I learned it, but in my life and in my business, I think of green time and red time. And like, I need to be at an 80% ratio of green time, which is growth conversations, revenue conversations. Like, this is in my personal business, things that move the needle in the right direction. And then 20% of my time is red time, which is now solving the problems and promises that I made in my green time. And I kind of think that's what you described with different language, where if growth is the goal, but then you don't have some time carved out to then fulfill the promises.
Yep.
We've all seen great people get here, not here per se, but we've seen great people get somewhere, and then it wasn't what they thought, and then they exit, which I will say my experience with Real has not been that. When we first, in Arizona in 22, the broker support was an issue, right? And what I'll give credit to Real for is, like, we all raised our hand and said, hey, we need a solve here, because the bottom of the bucket was leaving faster than it was coming in. And now I think we have a 98% broker.
Arizona's
like
solid.
Arizona crushes in broker support now. But it's just to the point, I guess what I'm really leaning on here is, like, yes, we've grown like wildfire, but the fact that we've solved any of these holes in the bucket is really cool. And I love that you still have some of that on your mind and not just growth.
Yep. 100%. Like the broker support is great. That's a great example, right? It's like, we could bring in 100,000 people, but if the brokers aren't doing their thing, or the tech isn't working, or something's not happening right, we're just going to lose them out the back. So I need to be the agent's voice to the C-suite and to Pritesh and to Jenna to say, hey, this is broken. How do we fix this or make this better for the agents as well?
Well, I will say too, like, everybody that is part of corporate is so like, just, hey, bring it to me. So I've had, other brokers in other states where we've come to, whoever for that situation, and they're literally like on it. They're ready to like help solve the problem. And that's been so cool. I even had, before you were around, so like another reason it's so good that you're there is I literally had an issue, and I made a video and had to send it to Tamir, and I was like, I feel so weird sending this to like the top dog, right? I was like, but I don't know who else to send it to. So anyways, I was just like,
it got solved.
It literally got solved. And I just think that that's like, so the culture at Real, like, they really are
100%.
here to make it work for us.
Solution-based, agent-centric. We just had Marin on, who's so dynamic and like amazing.
She's so good.
And she goes, there's really 3 rules. She goes, why were people coming? Because it's just such like it's like an open source kind of sort of building. It lets you be entrepreneurial. And she goes, don't break the law, be compliant, be kind. And what was the third? It was be kind. And there was a third that was like very reasonable. And she's like, if you do those 3 things, we want you, and we want you, we want you to go build what you want to build.
Yeah.
And that for me, especially being entrepreneurial and having different businesses, not having that red tape and having the brokerage really support the vision has been a game changer.
Yeah, I think that ultimately the first one is what I always say on my attraction calls as well, where it's like, Real doesn't care what you do as long as it's within the state rules, right? Like, as long as if you want to do luxury and brand yourself that way and have black signs and white and color, go for it. If you want to have pink on your signs, you want to do this, that's fine. And Dre, our marketing person, might say, hey, stay on brand. But like, Real doesn't care as long as it's state compliant. Do whatever you want. You want to do 1% listings because you want to work with developers and you discount your commission to get a bigger commission here, fine. Nobody's going to tell you what to do. It is the platform for the entrepreneurial agent, in my opinion.
So since you've been on so many agent attraction calls and, now in this role, like, what top reasons are you seeing people move over to Real for?
Good question. Economics is usually the first, where we have a better economic model than most. So when I left Compass in 2021 or 2022, 2021 we just had our best year, which most people did in 2021. And so I think we had paid $212,000 in split or something like that. Like we finished with like 60 something million in volume. And like, because of the uncapped model, I paid them $212,000. And I was looking at my team at the time, I think a team of 5 or 6. And I was like, I can't do that. Like, I need to get into a cap-based model. So I started evaluating a cap-based model landscape here in San Diego. There was Keller Williams, EXP, a couple others. And I'm like, okay, culturally, I think I align here the best. I want to get in, go for it, jump into it. So I think most people start conversations because of the economics. Secondarily, then there's a slew of different things. Some people just want to be around the creator culture and they want to learn how to do the cool listing videos that Matt Leonetti does. Some people want to be part of a bigger local community where maybe their indie brokerage is you know, a 10 office little indie, but they want to have a 50 state, 30,000 person network. So whatever the second, third, fourth reasons, they vary. I usually think that economics is a primary driver. Most people don't leave places because they're making too much money. Usually it's because they're giving away too much money, right? And so like a lot of the conversations start with economics and then lead into some other secondary.
I agree with that completely. I always say once you see the math, you can't unsee it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I know for me that was a huge driver. And I didn't know that I was going to go grow some big network or anything like that. I mean, I had faith that I probably would, but if you're productive alone, if you don't recruit anyone or attract anyone and you're just productive and you hit elite, now the math, you just can't compete with the math.
We're almost paying you at that point. Like by the time you go through and you've paid your splits caps and you hit the Elite Agent Award back with the capping award that you get, Real's almost paying you at that point. We're not making a ton of money off the elite agents. We're making like the money comes from like maybe more of like the middle of the pack is generally where that comes from. Is if the elite agents are basically free rolling here because they get that Elite Agent Award of $16K back. And so yeah, it's a great place to be economically.
I love like positive asymmetrical risk. Like whenever I have conversations with people, I'm like, look, because they'll say, well, what if your stock, what if the stock goes to zero? I was like, well, I was going to pay a broker. I was going to pay someone something. I don't want to be a broker.
Yeah.
So now to have this capital that I've actually used and I've cashed out and I've bought rental properties with, like very real money for doing what I was already going to do, that's where it starts to get really fun. And when you start vertically integrating revenue streams into a real estate business, it gets really fun. So I'm just excited to be able to tee you up with some of the biggest and brightest minds that have looked at the model. And now to have you in this role, I could be like, hey, let me introduce you to someone that can speak to it from another angle.
Yeah, I can't wait
You've
for
done
that.
it, and now you're on this other side, man. It's just going to be a really unique and creative position that I'm so glad exists, and I'm glad you're in it.
I'm excited to help. Yeah, thanks. I mean, obviously, if you're listening and you're at Real, that's what I'm here for, is that secondary conversation after you've had that initial conversation. The initial conversation always be you. Like, people want to know why you joined. They don't even know me at this point. But then eventually you may get to a point where you just don't have an answer to a question. You're like, hey, how does the revenue share work on co-sponsorship? Or how does the stock purchase plan work? That's where the growth team comes in. And so then you could tap us in for like a secondary call where we're like, we could break down the nuts and the bolts. We could side by side their business with the real platform to say, hey, actually, if you're here, all things considered, you'd save $62,000 based on here. You know what I mean? So that's where the growth team comes in. First conversation should always be with the sponsoring agent. That's the person who they know. And then ultimately, secondarily, the growth team will tap in.
Yeah. So being on staff there now, like what are some things that maybe we aren't aware of or that maybe an agent at Real's listening to that you're really excited is coming up?
Hey Leo, I think is bigger than most people realize because as an agent, I was like, what is this? Like a chatbot? What's going on? This thing? And then I've seen a little bit of the beta test now, and we have agents now closing deals because of Hey Leo.
Oh, that's
and so
cool.
I think Hey Leo, which is our proprietary AI home search, which is in beta right now. I think if your MLS is plugged in, you can jump into the beta, but by July or August, it should be out of beta and working, where every agent's going to get their own Hey Leo number that they can give out to their clients. Think about it. Maybe you're not giving it out to your A-paper clients who are just like texting you every day to go look at homes. But if you have a lead pond of 2,500 and then you can upload that lead pond in and then let Hey Leo work it and you get 17 hand raisers out of that, that's 17 clients that you probably weren't talking to, right? So the AI is so good that we've started to see people get contracts out of it that wouldn't have otherwise.
That's cool.
That all of a sudden becomes a real value add to be here using Hey Leo versus any other brokerage. Because every single one of us has these lead ponds or these unused leads that we can then unleash Hey Leo on. And if they can get me 2 extra deals in San Diego, that's $40,000 in commission. So now it's like, not only is it just economically better for me to be here, plus rev share, plus stocks, now there's a proprietary AI that gets me 2 extra deals a year. Now it's a no-brainer. It's financial malpractice not to be here.
Yeah.
That's such a good answer.
Mm-hmm.
One last thing, as we start to wrap this up, it's not every day you get to have an 800-person network holder, and now you're in this new role. If the agent is listening and attracting and creating value to other agents because you did it. Like you built something pretty special.
Yeah.
What are 1 or 2 things that they should be thinking about that are controllable to help them grow a network? Because a lot of people want to do it, they have a desire. How'd you do it, and what would you recommend to them? Maybe as our final question here.
Twofold. I don't remember who said it first, but attract, don't chase. I think it was like a Jimmy Mackin curator thing where it was like they were big on like attracting your business, not chasing your business. Works the same for agent attraction. So you cannot, there's no amount of cold calls you can do to get someone to join your brokerage if they weren't already thinking, if they don't already know who you are and they weren't thinking about moving. But what you can do is you can stay top of mind, put out valuable content, be friendly, talk to people, follow them on social so that when they're ready, they think of you versus someone else.
Yep.
And so like ultimately you attract your business, you don't chase. It's a much easier way to convert. And you'll be way more successful in your conversations. And then secondarily, there's a sponsor responsibility. And maybe this is because now I'm thinking of everything through net, not just the front, but like you could go add 1,000 people to your network, but if 500 leave, you've now only got 500. Mm-hmm. And there is a sponsor responsibility for everybody at the company to really pour in and take care of your network. Mm-hmm. It doesn't stop the day they join Real. It starts the day they join Real. Right. And I think a lot of people see that a little bit where they think, oh, they're here, cool. And there is a level of that. Real takes care of it. The Real's the brokerage. But the sponsor responsibility starts the day they join Real. You're their best friend. These people, it's so humbling. These people chose to leave whatever brokerage they were at and join you on this journey. That's humbling. And like, you should respect that.
Yeah. It's also like one of the coolest parts about our brokerage is being in business with so many people. So I just
totally
love seeing when people tap into that. Well, if somebody wants to follow you on social, what is your Instagram handle? It's
just my name, Jason Cassity, Cassity, T as in Tom. But yeah, it's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the things, just Jason Cassity.
Awesome.
That's awesome, man. I just want to say thank you again for taking the time.
Yeah,
we know your plate is full.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Congrats. And
plenty of time for you guys. Keep fighting the good fight. I love when agents are creating content out there. It's always a good thing.
I think we have the best Real podcast. I think so.
We do, yeah.
Not I think we do.
Yeah.
Does anyone else?
Katie and Tim are going to have. This is going to be a fight.
Send it to us. Clip it, and send it.
Yeah, Katie actually owes us to be on this podcast.
She does.
She's hard as hell to nail down.
I know, and then Tim's over there doing like bicep curls and looking like a GI Joe right now.
Katie's going to take offense. Tim will never know this even was said.
Yeah, he'll be like, "What, dude?" Well, Jason, thank you, man. We appreciate you. Congratulations again. To our listeners, you guys can find us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, everywhere you listen. We appreciate you. Share this with an agent, share it with a friend, and we will see you on the next one.